And welcome to Overtime, brought to you by KingsCast at www.kingscast.net. I'm Keith Korneluk.
I'm Chris Kalaszewski.
I'm Alex Kinkoff.
Here he is yet again, Kings fans. We are here back to talk to you about some Kings hockey.
That's right. Happy 2012, everyone. It's so far so good. The Sutter era is going off. It's great to see. Tonight we're going to talk about the big Vancouver game, talk about the game against Colorado, the game against Phoenix, and a slew of other topics, including Jack Johnson, Daryl Sutter, Bernie Nichols, and miscellaneous.
So here we go, episode 138, entitled Drew Doughty for Norris, SEO. All right, so we are not back from Staples Center. Why? Because we played the Phoenix Coyotes. We all know how that's going to go. And want to talk about the last few games, Colorado, Vancouver, Phoenix tonight. God, you know, it kind of feels to me like the Kings are just playing as inspired as the Ron Huntsman for President campaign.
Let's talk about it. I'd say the Kings had a pretty good week last week. You know, they beat Chicago and Vancouver. I think it's a pretty good week. But then, of course, they lost to Colorado. And but I think that, start with that Vancouver game. You know, it's a big-time opponent. Alex, what are your thoughts on the game?
A nice way to end the year, especially since we started the season. Goal scoring is the big problem. 4 goals. Huge. And that moved us into first place.
In the Pacific, not in the conference. Let's be clear here.
But still, we got to be optimistic about anything we can get here. So, good to see. 4 points from the Russians, Voinov and Lokhtianov. Good performance all around.
Yeah, and talk about one player who scored a goal, and that's Anze Kopitar. Now, this is something we haven't really been talking about at all because he hasn't scored in 17 games until that last Saturday, and what a huge sigh of relief for him. But here, again, this is Kopitar is going through these pathetic streaks where he doesn't score anything. I mean, guys, when are we going to start calling Mike Richards our number one center?
Well, but, here's the thing. I mean, I hear you last season, Kalaszewski, but, this one, I mean, nobody's scoring, except for maybe Dustin Brown and, maybe a Voinov kind of thing. But, who's really scoring? I know Anze Kopitar really needs to step it up. And I agree with you. I mean, if you're going to put anybody on the wing, it should be Kopitar with Richards centering that top line. Yeah. But, to me, I find it a little bit bizarre. We trade for a guy like a Mike Richards to put him at, the 1A, 1B kind of center. And he ends up, being to the left of Kopitar to get him going. To me, it's kind of ridiculous.
Well, and still the argument with Kopitar for him to achieve this constant elite status, people are still saying he needs a winger. Kopitar with the goal against Vancouver, great, but he seems to be a little trigger shy to me this year. He's still getting assists, but against Colorado, he had a chance with 5 minutes to go. Clear shot, 10 feet out, and he tries to make this cute pass. And it seems we used to see him always take that shot along the half boards last year. And I think he's the kind of player, him and Richards, where you can justify those two as taking low-quality shots. Those are goal scorers.
Yeah.
And I see Kopitar kind of just shying away from just pulling the trigger. Like I said, trigger shy, You like to see Kopitar. He's one of those players where, you like to see him shoot whenever he can.
Don't you see, Daryl Sutter on the bench, who's always, in Drew Doughty's ear, to kind of get it going. I kind of want him in Kopitar's ear now. Like, why the hell can't you, score a goal? Get him focused on that.
Yeah. Right. Well, I mean, you talk about that not having been pulling the trigger. I mean, is that a coaching thing? Is that him? Does he have a lack of confidence? I mean, why is that?
It's gotta be Kopitar.
You almost see it as a confidence thing. Back in Columbus, I was there a couple weeks ago. He had a 2-on-1 with Gagne, and he just kind of double clutches. It's like he's not completely sure of himself, and it's just one of those things we saw when he was a younger player, when the pressure wasn't on. He'd just take that shot, and he's got such a good shot. That's a player that can take low quality shots.
You brought it up a couple of minutes ago, Alex, and that is Anze Kopitar doesn't have that left wing. He never really has, to be honest with you. I mean, now he's got Mike Richards, but he should be honestly centering the second line or the first, depending how you want to look at it. I saw a tweet online from our friend Dennis Bernstein in the fourth period, and, he was saying that Jack Johnson is being dangled, and it was confirmed by Gan Natsudo of Frozen Royalty, and guys, let's be honest, Gan does it. It's on.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And that was saying, that, Johnson being dangled for Rene Bourque, Drew Stafford, Derek Waugh, and James Van Riemsdyk. Now, let's take Van Riemsdyk out of the equation for a second. Let's look at Rene Bourque, Drew Stafford, and Derek Watt. Now, I know Jack Johnson has got like the worst plus-minus since, post-lockout, but are we trading Jack Johnson for any of those three guys? Who's going to do it? Alex, Kalzewski, are you guys going to pull that trigger as GM?
No, I don't think so. I don't know why you went Bork. Isn't he facing a suspension now again?
Outside of that, are you trading for, Bork for Johnson?
No, I think you hold out and hope that Johnson gets better.
You know who does do that deal? Daryl Sutter is GM of the Flames.
That's a good point.
Well,
Absolutely you would.
And you think about Johnson, he's really our only tradable player that you can really get anything worthwhile for.
Yes.
So if you're going to trade Johnson, it's going to be better than those three that you've selected. But Van Riemsdyk is, you can think about it. He's been injured. He's had an off year, but 2 goals tonight? The game winner I saw with 30 seconds left.
Absolutely. Here's the thing, though, is Paul Holmgren just re-signed James Van Riemsdyk to another 6-year contract. I know they traded Jeff Carter. They traded Mike Richards. Is he going to trade another guy that he just signed long-term? I mean, I would love Van Riemsdyk. I mean, in that draft with Kyle Turris and, Patrick Kane, obviously, but Thomas Hickey and Carl Alsner, I mean, it was kind of a crap draft. I mean, I would take him, but...
Does it play anything to Chris Pronger being out? Is Philadelphia... Are they itching for another defenseman? Is Pronger leaving a hole,
Absolutely. You got Tim Gleason as an unrestricted free agent under Carolina. You know what? Here's the thing. The Kings are not trading Jack Johnson. Dean Lombardi's not going to trade a guy who he just signed to a long-term contract. And I know we did that to Lubomir Visnovsky, not a Dean Lombardi draft pick or trade guy. It's a Lombardi guy. He went through a lot of stuff with him. It's not going to happen. I'm just saying.
Well, that was a ridiculous contract, too. I mean, Jack Johnson's a lot more friendly.
Very much so.
Negotiating it himself.
No, but if you're going to do it, Jack Johnson is the cornerstone of a trade for an elite guy, like a Kovalchuk, but not Kovalchuk.
All right, KingsCast, so of course, after the huge Vancouver win, stepping in and playing a super hot team in Colorado. And let's talk about the game a little bit. Justin Williams had a goal in that game. Now, this has been talked about a lot. It was waved off for a high stick. Now, if you watch the replay, which we've seen a zillion times, it does not look like it was a high stick to me. But at this point, don't you think we need a better system to judge these?
It was shocking to me. I was in the 300s, and when you're that up high, you don't have the best point of view.
Now you think everything's a goal. Anytime a puck goes towards the net, you're like, it's a goal!
But me and everyone around me included, I mean, it was just such a sure thing. Everyone was sure that it was going to get overturned, and I even talked to you guys about it who were watching on the telecast, and you guys agreed. I mean, what's going on in the war room?
You know what? Here's the thing. Who cares? And I'm going to tell you why. We lost the game by 1 goal. And, we should have won the game, 3-4-1, whatever it is. Justin Williams, his goal doesn't count. You know what? It was a bad call by Toronto, whatever. We still should have won the game because we should have scored more goals.
Yeah. And that's been the issue too long. You can't even blame Quick on that. You can't blame Quick for any of this year. I mean, he's been outstanding, and going to the All-Star voting, he's not even mentioned there. So you couldn't really do anything about that.
Well, they were saying tonight in the telecast that in 30 games out of 33, Quick has let in 2 goals or less. I mean, that's an outstanding stat.
Yeah.
And the Kings got to get better. Let's talk about the All-Star game. You brought it up, Alex. 4 Ottawa Senators, Dion Phaneuf and Tim Thomas, named to the starting lineup or whatever, and no LA King anywhere near that. Kalzewski, who's your All-Star for the LA Kings?
For me, Mike Richards.
Okay.
I think he's the only one besides Quick.
I'd agree with Richards, but I think Quick deserves more recognition. But you can definitely understand why he's not getting recognition across the league. Just how the Kings are performing.
Well,
he's not Canadian either.
Right.
Well, that hurts too. But he's a victim of his team's record, and they're underperforming. If they have a little bit more better record, maybe he gets a little more consideration. But it's kind of a good goaltending year too, though.
Yeah, and when they underperform, his stats get underlooked.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
obviously
my All-Star is Quick. I mean, he's the MVP this year. He's the MVP last year. I mean, I know his record in the shootouts hasn't been as good as it was, but look at it. It's like Tim Thomas. Who's the next goalie? In the All-Star game, James Remmer, Carey Price, all Canadian goaltenders. I mean, it's Jonathan Quick leading the league in shutouts. I mean, honestly,
no
annoying.
love there.
Tonight against Phoenix, of course, when Phoenix is in town, it's a snoozer. Once again, 0-0, but pull it out in overtime, and it's a pure grit, pure effort play. Drew Doughty, who we've kind of critiqued all year for trying to do too much, trying to be too cute, but works the puck, drives it into the zone, kind of just crashes the net and finds past the goal line, wins. So,
yeah, he literally crashed the net.
Yeah.
Luckily, it didn't come off the moorings, but he definitely played like he wanted to score that goal, and he was still a little bit cute tonight. Lots of double spins tonight where he lost the puck and it went, led to a rush from the Coyotes. But yeah, I mean, talk about a big game. I mean, again, obviously the Kings don't score. They score one goal in overtime.
Yeah. I mean, the same old thing. I mean, I think it was Surly and Scribe that said that they're averaging .02 goals less than they did under Terry Murray. That said, Drew Doughty, great goal. I mean, finally looking like that Norris defenseman. He's not going to win it this year or probably ever, but,
But still, that could feed off of Sutter, who's been kind of
in his ear the whole time. Yeah.
Period shifts, maybe, hey, Drew, if you get that chance, if you get an open lane, it's overtime, go for it, do something extra. And kind of when Terry Murray was here a couple weeks back, you showed the Kings were kind of just conservative, and you're not sure if Doughty would pull through with a move like that, last man back 4-on-4, but,
Yeah, that doesn't happen under Terry Murray, for sure. I mean, maybe season 1, but no, good to see Drew Doughty get the goal. All right, Kings fans, we'll be back Monday against the Washington Capitals. All three of us will be here. Alex still in town from Cleveland. You know you love it. Want to send a special shout out to my brother Dave. Yo, thanks for the sweatshirt. D-Sizzle on Twitter. Check him out, brother. This thing is awesome. Makes me look really fat.
Tough.
It happens.
Looks like
I'm
Penner.
Keith Kordelik.
I'm Chris Kalaszewski.
And I'm Alex Kinkoff.
Thank you for watching Overtime. Bye, KingsCast.